I think I speak for everyone when I say love is the greatest energy in the world. And when we fall in love, oh man, it's like the world starts spinning faster or stops. You don't even know what's going on. But what is it that we need to do to make that feeling last? What are the steps that we need to take to ensure that this great feeling, that this beautiful energy and connection is going to last? What's going on? I'm Gigi Diaz, and on this episode of Chats with Gigi, that's exactly what we're going to talk about. The 3 tips to developing, sustaining, and maximizing a loving relationship. And of course, you know, I only bring experts on the show. So Spirit is here to tell us all about it. She's a therapist, a media personality, a wife, a mother of 5, and she's going to tell us her 3 tips to developing, sustaining, and maximizing a loving relationship. You can also catch Spirit on Love Goals, her new TV show on OWN, the Oprah Winfrey Network, where she's going to be talking to celebrity couples, helping them overcome all sorts of challenging issues in their relationship. It's going to be a very different, very intense therapy session with some of your favorite celebrities. So make sure you set that aside on your calendar. But let's get started with today's episode of Chats with Gigi featuring the one and only Spirit. This is Chats with Gigi, your space for growth, inspiration, and learning, covering the topics that matter to women everywhere, empowering you in your personal and professional life. Are you ready? Here we go. Spirit, welcome to the show.
Hey, Gigi.
I'm so excited to have you share your expertise with my listeners today. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, please. It's beyond my pleasure.
You have what I like to call the magic book with all of the rules on making love happen. So let's talk about the things that we often miss when it comes to love. I think it's so easy in the beginning, right? When the butterflies are there and the chemistry is, all the hormones are going crazy. But today I want to talk about 3 quick tips for developing. So to make sure that beginning stage happens, sustaining, making sure it lasts, and then maximizing your relationship. Let's get started with developing. What do we need to focus on through the butterflies and the crazy hormones and all the fun?
Okay, so listen, what that is called is known as NRE, which stands for New Relationship Energy. That is always fun in the beginning, and that is your brain tricking you to believe that you are actually in love. That's where you get all the dopamines, all the oxytocin, your heart is racing, your palms are sweaty, your stomach is nervous, and you feel like you just want this feeling to last a lifetime.
Yes.
That, my dear, is chemistry. It is not necessarily compatibility, and we have to know that there is a huge difference so that we are not fooled into the wrong relationship.
Okay, and how do we distinguish between the compatibility and just the chemistry of the beginning?
Yes. So I always tell people, after some very wise couples told me who had been married for quite a long time, they said, Spirit, what people need to understand is that it's not about being able to look lovingly into one another's eyes, but rather it's about, do we look lovingly into the same future? Oof. And so you have to be clear about who you are and where it is that you're trying to go. And are you compatible in how you see what that future looks like? If you're trying to go in 2 different directions, you may be in trouble.
That sounds like a really heavy second date dinner conversation, though, Spirit.
But it's absolutely necessary because a lot of us waste our times getting into relationships that don't work. We move so fast with that NRE because we think we are so amazing together. I want this to last a lifetime. And by the time that NRE wears off, we think either we're no longer in love and we're in trouble, which isn't necessarily true, or we recognize a whole lot of things about about the person and about the relationship that we didn't see in the beginning. And unfortunately, while we were in love, we made choices like have children, combine finances, move in with each other. We've moved so quickly that it's hard to untangle when we realize we might not be in the right place.
Wow. So step number one in developing it would be distinguishing between that chemistry and the compatibility. What would be step number two?
Step number two is setting the foundation for your relationship. You have to remember that you are two individuals who come from two entirely different backgrounds. And so you have to know there is you, there's your partner, and there is your relationship. And your relationship is its own living, breathing entity. So you have to decide what it's going to be by coming up with a series of agreements for how your relationship is going to function.
I love that. And what is step three in the development stage?
Step three is making sure that you are healthy enough and your relationship is healthy enough to go the distance. Unfortunately, oftentimes, if we haven't done our work, our own healing, then we choose individuals who are responsive to that healing. I often call those woundmates. Your trauma aligns with my trauma in such a way that allows me to perpetuate that dysfunction as opposed to healing it. And so who I am is not really my best version of myself, and who you are is not your best version of yourself, which means that our relationship might be toxic.
Wow. Okay. I like that, because if you're coming in with baggage, you're weighing it down, right?
Oh, yes. And so what it's really about is knowing that most of us who haven't done our work come into a relationship with baggage. The real deal is, can I unpack mine in front of you? Can you unpack yours in front of me? And can we figure out what needs to stay because it's healthy and what absolutely needs to go so it doesn't poison us?
All right. So those are three really, really solid tips to make sure that developing phase flourishes into a beautiful and loving relationship. So let's get into phase two, which is sustaining that development. How do we do that? How do we make sure that we make it last?
Yes, so you have to remember, one, that the same things that you did in the beginning, you need to continue to do in a relationship. And we hear that all the time, but it's really true. Couples that stay in love are couples that grow together. So don't stop doing things with each other. Number two, don't assume after time has passed in your relationship that you know everything there is to know about your partner or about yourself or about your relationship. You should constantly be growing, constantly be evolving, and that means you should constantly be curious. Ask your partner who they are. Ask them what their goals are, what their dreams are, how they're changing, how they're staying the same. Because your relationship is supposed to grow you and stretch you into your best life over time. And number three, realize and be wary of how you will deal with the imperfections and the weaknesses in each other. We all know that we are not perfect. We all know that there is no such thing as perfection. Therefore, our partners cannot be perfect either. But when we see those imperfect parts of them, we often have no tolerance or patience for them. And in a relationship where you're supposed to be able to be together till death do you part, that means I have a lifetime to grow and become my best self. And often in these relationships nowadays, we're anything but.
Oh, girl, listen, you're all up in it with the knowledge today, and I can't get enough of it. Now, I really like this third part because we're maximizing the relationship. And that to me kind of sounds a little like business growth. And I like that because I'm a businesswoman. So tell me what that is and what the top 3 tips are to maximizing your relationship.
Maximizing the relationship is all about having a plan, being intentional for your relationship. And so first and foremost, just like the title of this show, what are your love goals? If you are just in a relationship because it feels good and you want it to last a lifetime, if you don't identify what feels good, and if you don't identify what needs to happen in order for you to continue to receive what feels good, you won't be able to maximize. The other part of it comes down to your effective communication. How well do we communicate about the problems in our relationship at their root? Unfortunately, so many of us spend time arguing about the problems and about surface things without getting to the root of what it is. You know, we argue about why you don't take out the trash or why you stop doing the thing that you used to do instead of arguing at what's at the root. I feel disrespected or I feel insecure. And so since we don't get to the root, we can never get to the real solutions. And then third, we have to remember about problem solving and how to do that effectively. And you have to know that you are not the problem and your partner is not the problem, but the problems are the problem, and you have to work on the same team to get to effective solutions in your relationship.
That is so important what you just said right now, to work together for a solution, because we often, I feel, get lost in the emotion of, I feel disrespected, so you must be doing this. And that's not necessarily the case, because if it doesn't mean anything to him, to throw out the trash, if he doesn't see it as a big deal, he never had to do it at home growing up or whatever, it just has no meaning. But to you, it means that he takes all of your work for granted around the house, and the one thing you ask him to do is throw away the trash. You feel like you're trash, and now you're confusing what you feel and what he interprets. The definitions are so different if you just talk about it, right?
Yeah, because if you never get to the interpretation, then you think that you're arguing about the trash. You don't realize that you're arguing about, I feel devalued or unappreciated in our relationship. And if couples could respond to how they're making one another feel, of course, if I love you, I don't want you to feel that way. But if we never talk about our feelings, we only talk about the behaviors that drive us crazy, we never get to the heart of it, and that is where the disconnect is, not just in our hearts, but also in our relationship.
Spirit, I could listen to you talk all day about love and relationships, and I am so excited for your new show. This new series is going to be amazing. Love Goes on OWN, the Oprah Winfrey Network, and you're going to be working with some incredible celebrities too.
Oh, yes. I am so excited for these celebrities to show you not just the inside of their actual lives, but also for them to become the lens for you to see your own. And so we have Sundy and Breyon, we have Dwayne and Theresa Bowe, we have Coolio and Mimi, Spinderella and Q, and Althea and Benzino. And when I tell you, you have never seen therapy done in this way, and you have never seen these couples that you've come to know, love, and even hate in this way, it's going to change the way that you understand them and the way you understand yourself.
Spirit, thank you so much for joining us today on Chats with Gigi. I know this show is going to be an amazing hit, and I cannot wait to check it out.
I can't wait. Thank you so much. I love you guys so much down there.
We love you back, girl. I want to know what your thoughts are, what your tips are on keeping your relationship strong, beautiful, and healthy. So join the conversation using the hashtag Chats with Gigi. You know, you can always find me on your favorite social media platform. Look me up at Gigi Diaz Live. And if you haven't done so yet, friend, please subscribe to the show so you can be the first to find out what next week's episode is going to be all about. Thank you for listening to Chats with Gigi. We'll talk next week.